Well, here's something that happened right out of the blue, and I'm not going to be able to show you any of the pictures of, where this actually tragic happening happened. It was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was a recruiting station. 4 Marines killed in cold blood by an act of just, well, it looked like somebody. I could give you, you know what? I had to search on the media to try to find the name of the guy because it says, wait a minute. You know, they're not telling you anything about the guy who was the shooter that killed these 4 Marines that were in the recruiting station in cold blood. They weren't saying a damn thing about it. And, well, I got the name. And I'll show it to you in just less than a minute here. But actually, as you know, like recruiting stations are, they'll have, the Army, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Navy all together, right, in the same recruiting station complex. But the Marines were singled out in this shooting. It was somebody pulled up in a silver convertible Mustang. They had multiple weapons. They fired loads of shots for about 15, 20 minutes. They wounded an officer or they killed an officer, but I know they definitely killed the 4 Marines. I think there was also, I got these stories are coming out. They're a little sketchy because I think there was another area in Chattanooga, Tennessee that also got shot up. And, Chattanooga, Tennessee is actually pretty known to be pretty peaceful. But here's the name of the guy that actually did it. Muhammad, that's his suspect's name. Muhammad Yosef Abdulaziz, whatever, I can't say the name, man, but he's dead. The cops killed him, I think. The cops killed him when they caught up to him, or he killed himself, but he's dead. But that's who it is. That's who it is. I really had to go dig through this stuff because it says, wait a minute, the guy's already dead. They already got the car. He's driving in, everything. How come they're not telling? It's like I had to sift through about 50 articles before I came up with this because I was already suspecting, who the hell it was already because they wouldn't say. But guess we're going to have to make a conclusion about this. This guy definitely read the Quran. Ban it. Just like they did the Confederate flag. Ban it. Ban it. Make sure it's out of freaking everywhere. That's the way I'm going to look at it. Now, the actual governor's mansion is also on lockdown. I know, it's almost like when this stuff happens, they go full tilt one way. Now, I remember the 1983 attack in Beirut, where they killed, 230-something Marines? Now, the recruiting station, I mean, that's a whole nother story. But, it always bugged the hell out of me why they can't trust Marines with weapons. Everything's got to be locked in the armory. Everything's, they got to issue 15 rounds or whatever. Unless you're going and carrying money, then they give you all kinds of rounds, because I remember that's what they did with me. But the thing is, when things are going on like this, and we got heightened tensions in the United States, this probably could have been preventable. In hindsight, everything's 2020. But I'll give you an example because I remember this from way back when I was in the Marine Corps in Beirut. I wasn't in Beirut, but I remember when the news hit, over 230 Marines killed in that explosion. Then everybody packed in the building. No roadblocks or nothing like that, like the way they should have been. It should have been like they had to go snake through a whole bunch. That could have been prevented. But you know what always happens? It's almost like the same thing with the escape from the New York high security prison. There's all kinds of laxness that goes on. And, I've seen this so many times out in the field. Even when you're out in foreign countries, the security sucks. Now, in the United States, those Marines should have had some guns, man. Now, if you can't trust the Marine with the gun, well, then again, he shouldn't be a Marine. How's that? That's what it goes down to. It comes down to the big D word, discipline. So, it's the few, the proud, the few, if you can cut it. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to say something about this deal also because I'm never going to forget about these 4 Marines being killed, okay? And hot on the heels of this, though, I want to tell you this. President Barack Obama's deal with Iran is dangerous. You already saw what happened, what an individual lone gunman can do. You just seen that happen today. What the hell can they do with a freaking dirty bomb nuke? You know, all these freaking people can theorize all this huggy-feely shit all they want. I don't care, man, you know, about their stupid freaking arguments. But, you know, one little dirty bomb. Oh, you know, even President Barrack Obama talks about this. You know, he says, you know, the thing I'm worried about is they set off a dirty bomb in New York City. You know, maybe that'll be the thing they need to knock down the markets, because I don't even know how the freaking markets are being held up the way they are with all the margin leverage and, you know, all the real bad data that they're hiding. They're being pumped up with funny money from the Fed. And when this happens, you know, maybe they need a cover story. Now, I don't think this was anything to do with anything planned. This was not a false flag. I doubt it. You know, this last thing that just happened today, where 4 Marines were killed in cold blood by an Islamic terrorist, domestic Islamic. You know, maybe he came up through the freaking Mexican border, too. That's another thing. But, you know, the deal with this nuclear deal with Iran is actually so freaking dangerous, because you don't know what they could sneak into the country at any given time, especially through our porous Mexican border, or on any container ship that we got coming in from China with, you know, import goods. And they could create a situation, and it's all psychological. Once there's a big attack someplace in this nation, you watch what happens to the markets. Watch what happens to the markets, and watch wealth disappear real quick. This guy is appalling, Barack Obama, and so is the dude that he's married to. And I could say it's the dude because, you know, who is Michelle Obama? It's actually Michael Levon Robinson, you know. Had a sex change, became Michelle Obama. It's not a joke, man. And I can tell you Joan Rivers wasn't making a joke about this deal. I know some people don't want to believe it, because what they see in the Barack Obama when they voted for him is what they want to believe is still true. It never was true. It's what people saw in him and hoped was in him. The guy's a sellout, man. You know, I went over, you know, I'm going to make this a little more of a political thing here, because, you know, this incident pisses me off, and it just goes along with a lot of other shit, because I used to get bent out of shape. You know, why the hell they can't trust Marines with weapons? I don't give a damn. You're on a recruiting freaking thing. The hell with it. They don't even do this. They don't even give Marines enough weapons, even a lot of times, when you're out in freaking hostile environments. I mean, in foreign countries. 5 rounds. Here's 5 rounds. 5 rounds. Here you go. 5 rounds. Make sure one of them isn't in the chamber. You know, a crock of shit. You know, that's what you see going on. You know, I think every Marine ought to have at least one full type of sidearm, preferably .45 caliber, and a backup weapon of, like, say, a .22. You know, a little .22 Beretta or something like that. A backup weapon, something like the Israelis got. None of this screwing around bullshit. But, you know, this burns me up because, you know, while they're all freaking getting all bent out of shape about, you know, bent out of shape with the transgender issue, you ever hear of freaking military necessity? Hey, man, could I go back in the Marine Corps now? I'm 60 years old. Could I go back in now? You know what? You wouldn't want me back in. I'll tell you why. Because I was a little too politically incorrect, even though I was a lot freaking smarter than the people above me. And I'm talking about smarter on paper. But you know, I had to watch my freaking P's and Q's with those yo-yos, because 99% of the freaking people in the top on anybody or a Marine organization, or not, I don't even want to pick on the Marines, at least they're the most politically incorrect. But, you know, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, they're all like this. They're all freaking playing games for direct deposit. You know, in the meantime, you know, what's going on? What's the real mission in the military? To defend the country, right? To defend the country. You know, and you got recruiters out there. They're not even allowed to defend themselves. That is a freaking sick policy. You know what? That's a policy I think can be violated by any freaking upstanding Marine, because what I say is, you know, you got local laws, and you got state laws, and you got federal laws. Well, you know what? It's the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps needs to be armed. Arm yourself. The hell with the bullshit. The hell with the bullshit. Because this stuff is not going to, I don't think it's going to stop. And you know what the other deal is? The other thing is you can't have any say-so in really at all, is this nuclear deal. You know, it's one thing against fighting against a lone gunman, but what are you going to do if somebody's carrying a freaking a suitcase full of freaking nuke, or full of a dirty bomb? What are you going to do about that? That's up to the government, and it's up to the leadership. The leadership who's married to a dude, you know, per Joan Rivers, who was freaking murdered, I'll say that right now. But in the meantime, we got policy being dictated by the White House and pressure from the White House, telling everybody that the Confederate flag with the cross of St. Andrew, the number one apostle, which is based upon the Scottish flag, is now banned in Amazon, eBay, Sears, Google stores, Walmart, and, you know, for the whole 9 yards, by policies from Iran-loving, ISIS-loving President Barrack Obama and his wife that used to be a guy. And you know what? The thing is, I don't know why you're freaking hiding it. You know, if everything, you know what it is? They can't exist without Christian support. Like the ones that say, in other words, they use the Christians and they use everybody. They got to hide behind all this freaking charade. They can't come out and say, hey, Michelle Obama used to be Michael. He actually called her Michael a few times. But in the meantime, on Amazon and things like eBay, you can't get freaking Confederate flag because, you know, it's got the cross of St. Andrew. And, you know, those pictures got released by the Southern Poverty Law Center that associated Dylan Roof with that. Well, by association, that's banned. But here we have on Amazon, we got 55-gallon barrel of freaking anal lube. Half price. That's your President Barack Obama. Hey, that's what needs to be freaking pushed out in the marketplace. Forget about Confederate flags that have the cross of St. Andrew. Now, sorry if this is politically incorrect, and this is definitely not an advertisement for this stuff here, okay? You know, if it doesn't go in an engine, it doesn't work, you know, as far as I'm concerned, for what the hell you're supposed to be using it for. But there you go. That's our president. You know, Joan Rivers was telling the truth about him, and she's dead now. And, you know, we got Michael, and we got this rotten nuclear deal coming up with Iran, and we already got a good warning of what's going to happen once Iran gets the capabilities to build dirty bombs. What's going to happen? We're going to have incidents like this, where this Muhammad guy is going to actually use it in the United States on any type of target he possibly can. Now, if you're going to ban the cross of St. Andrew, you know, banning the Confederate flag is banning a religious symbol, because that's actually what it is. You could freaking lie. You could say anything about, you know, it can make up anything you want about what symbols mean. But if you look all the way back, centuries and centuries and centuries, to the Scottish flag history, also the Russian naval flag history for 200 years, for the 200 years prior to the Bolshevik Revolution, that X meant the cross of St. Andrew, the number one apostle of Jesus. Well, if you're banning a religious symbol, we can ban the Quran and any kind of Islamic symbols because of this act of terrorism. But I already know where Obama stands. He stands on pushing for anal lube passion 55-gallon drums in Amazon, and he also stands behind the guy he married, Michael. That's what he is. But you know, the thing is, he's not being truthful about any of this other stuff. Hey, you know, at least, you know, I gotta respect, I guess, Bruce Jenner, right? The guy came out and he says, I'm Caitlyn, okay? But you know what? You never heard this from Michelle, that she used to be Michael. They'll hide behind this bullshit. Well, you know what the problem is? The people that put these people in office, they thought they put something else in, but you know, that ain't the situation. So I'm going over on this video a lot more than what it was originally about 4 Marines killed in cold blood by Muhammad in Tennessee. I'm going over a lot more than that, because it's all related, man. It's all related. And I'm going to say this to even to the command in the Marine Corps. About time you freaking arm Marines, man. And if you can't trust them with the discipline of good weapons security, good weapons safety, well, guess what? They shouldn't be Marines, right? 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 You know why that freaking happens? Where you got to have everything in the armory and they issue 5 rounds and count them back and all this kind of shit like that. And a lot of times people are in areas that are hostile and they don't have enough rounds on them, or the bolt is to the is to the rear of the weapon or something like that. Or when when the Secretary of Defense comes over, make sure all the rifles are taken out of the Marines' hands. I wonder why, man. I wonder why, huh? I wonder why. Anyway, enough said on this shit. And it's about time. Let's just fight back. We're getting hit on all fronts. It's time to fight him back on all fronts. No screwing around.